All right, everybody, welcome back. It's a Football Friday here on the RP Show. We continue to take your questions and comments, 902-518-3033 or the YouTube stream, but we're pleased to welcome in from the CFL on TSN, Jim Barker. Big night, Jim, for CFL games tonight. Welcome back to the program. What are you going to be watching for tonight?
Well, to me, the biggest game is easy to pick out, and it's going to be BC and Edmonton, where you got Nathan Rourke really getting his first meaningful reps with Buck Pierce's offense, and then you got Trey Ford and Jordan Maximic both coming back to BC. I just think that's going to be a really fascinating game in terms of which game is the most interesting and which will tell us the most. I think both of those teams come off of losses. Again, which quarterback is gonna step up? Nathan Rourke obviously is Nathan Rourke, but didn't really. He handed the ball off 4 times last week, so it's going to be interesting to watch him in that offense because that's a different offense. It's more of a play action and type of thing than what Jordan Maximic's offense that Trey Ford will be running. It's more of a quick pass, spread the field out, and get the ball. Jason Moss type of things where the ball's never in the air more than 5 yards. Where now Nathan Rourke's going to be in an offense that Zach Collaros is in, where you're throwing the ball vertically upfield and that type of thing. I think it's if you presume that he's going to be the old Nathan Rourke, I think you need to watch this game and see how he adapts to whatever it is that Buck Pierce is having him do, because it's going to be different than what he did with Jordan Maximic. So that's the biggest game. You asked about the biggest game. That to me is the biggest game. Obviously, the Montreal-Ottawa game is on TSN. Again, Davis Alexander, we talk about this all the time on your show, Rod. Quarterbacks who have never been starting quarterbacks, to anticipate they're going to be, because they were really good as a backup, they're going to be great. We learned with Dane Evans. That doesn't happen. And Davis Alexander struggled big time. He didn't throw a pass over 4 yards. I mean, I went through the film. I was shocked. Everything he threw. Now, I get that's what Jason Moss does, but it's going to be interesting to see if Davis Alexander, he's got to play much better because what happens is you play bad the first game and you come back and you play bad in this one. And again, I don't even know if he's playing. I haven't read, but I'm guessing he's going to play because he played so bad. Now you go into the first game, you have any problems, and the players in the locker room start to say, this isn't the guy that can lead us. And then he starts to question him. Those are the kind of things that happen with first-time starters. They haven't been through it. Like Cody McLeod has been through it. They've been through having all that negative stuff and then being able to overcome it. Davis Alexander never has. So I think, in that game that's going to be on TSN, that's the interesting thing to watch is Davis Alexander. What is he going to be? I don't even think Drew Brown is going to be playing. He might be, but Drew's in his second year now, so hopefully he takes a step. I love the Ottawa receiving core. Their offensive line just doesn't do anything for me. I think they haven't done anything to really address it, and they're playing with the same people they had, and I think that could be an issue for them. So I'm interested to watch Ottawa's offensive line. I think their defensive front is the same. I love their linebackers. I think they've upgraded. Their secondary looks better in Ottawa. Montreal, they have the same good old solid defense that they always have. Noel Thorpe does his thing. So, that should be an interesting game for fans to watch on TSN. It's the only game being televised on TSN. And then we have our preview show on Tuesday, by the way, just to let people know. The TSN preview show of the CFL. Then you have Toronto and Hamilton. And I don't know if you remember, but we talked about Toronto's issue, and I was scared to death of their D-line and sure enough, they run for 180 yards in a preseason game, which is unheard of. Hamilton ran right through them like they were like they weren't there. That's still a major concern. I don't think they pressured Bo Levi real well. Again, it's a preseason game, but you hope your front four can show up more. A guy named Chatfield, he looked pretty good. I was at the game, and I thought he looked okay, but for the most part, their defensive line just didn't do anything, and that's been the strength of the Toronto Argonauts is their two lines. Their offensive line looked okay. For Hamilton, can Bo Levi played 2.5 quarters, so he played a lot last week. Taylor Powell didn't. I'm not sure how much Bo's going to play. I think Scott was debating it all week if he's going to even play at all. But he seems to be in pretty good rhythm. He's just a little off with receive. Like Tim White, I don't know what it is, but it's just like those two just seem to not be able to connect. If they ever get that figured out, because he was wide open twice behind the coverage, and Bo missed him. And I turned to the guy next to me in the press box and said, "There's just something with that. He just misses Tim White. He doesn't miss the other guys, but he misses Tim White." If they can get that together, they got a chance to be really good on defense, on offense, and I think their defense has improved. The young guy Devin Verasuk, their first pick, he's a second overall, but their first pick in the draft, and Isaiah Bagna, their defensive end, they took in the second round. Both of those guys look like they're going to be really good players. I mean, Verasuk may not start right at the beginning, but it won't shock me if he moves into Mike and they move Kyle Wilson, over to Will linebacker. Because Verasuk is a guy who's going to be on the field soon. He made a play on special teams that as a scout, when you're watching a game, you say, wow, how could he have done that? His explosiveness was unbelievable. So, they got some things on defense that they're going to be good. I think they're going to be much better than they were. Brett Monson next week, I called it, Calgary, Hamilton, Bo Levi and Brent Monson going back to Calgary, who needs to win. They're 2-0 in the preseason, so hopefully they can carry that into their season, get the Calgary fans excited again. That, to me, is the game of the opening week, is Calgary and Hamilton. Then that last game this week, Sask and Winnipeg, Trevor's not going to play. I don't think Trevor Harris is going to play. The offensive line in Sask has me worried. I mean, they're moving people around. They're going to try Jacob Brammer at right guard tonight. They've lost two players, Sean McEwen, to a season-ending injury. They lost Gagnon, the free agent they signed from Montreal, who was playing right guard. He tore a pec. He's gone for the year. So to lose two Canadian offensive linemen, there aren't a lot of teams in the CFL that can overcome that. And I had picked Saskatchewan, but that was prior to both of those injuries. So you're going to have to tune into the preview show to see who I'm actually going to pick. It could still be Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Naylor still has Ottawa Sask Grey Cup final. He says it's a Grey Cup preview in week 1, Thursday, June 5th at Mosaic, which we can come back on. The viewers have a lot of questions, so we're going to have to go fast here. But Naylor brought something up really interesting, Jim, and I'll paraphrase it to say, what do Jeremiah Masoli, Cody Fajardo, Jake Mayer, McLeod Bethel-Thompson, Nick Arbuckle all have in common? I'll save you the time. They're all backups. Have you ever seen a group of number twos across the league with the age and experience that we have this year? Trends are fun to follow, and these aren't developmental jobs anymore. The older guys are the backups. It's kind of
I'd
wild.
be willing to bet this group of backups has more wins than any group of CFL backups in history.
Yeah,
I would
that's pretty
go out
cool.
on a limb and say that. Yeah, it is. It's great. It's great. So now if some of these starters don't pan out, they've got experienced guys who have won games there to play for them. That is something that makes the CFL stronger, is knowing that there's backups like that if there's any kind of faltering by the starter, people to step in. So, and one more thing before you get to the questions, the face of the CFL, and he's going to hate that I say this, but my view of the face of the CFL is Mike O'Shea, because when you see Mike O'Shea, everybody knows who he is. You would never see an NFL coach that looks like that. He is total Canadiana, top to bottom. He, to me, is the current face of the CFL. He can hate me for all he wants.
Yeah, well, he would. Guy won't even post for a photo, for the love of God. It would be nice if he would. But that was one of the questions, actually, from Carlos, is who's the face of the CFL? So you actually answered it. Kevin the Medium writes in and says, who does Jim think ends up with the better quarterback? Stampeders or Lions? Woo, VA or
That's a great question. Vernon Adams, I thought, looked fantastic in Dave's offense. I'm going to say that Vernon Adams is going to have a better year than Nathan Rourke. And just going out on a limb, and after tonight's game, I may change my mind. But right now, I like the way Vernon has fit into that offense. I like the people he has around him. Uh, I don't know. I'm not sold on the BC Lions. I'm not sold on a lot of things with that club, and obviously that affects the quarterback. And you know, Vernon Adams he can throw the ball around the big receivers. Getting Dom Rhymes was huge. Dominic Rhymes for Calgary, that was a huge pickup. So again, it's going to be really interesting to watch that. But I think that's a great question. Whoever asked it, that's a great question. And I'm going to say that Vernon Adams is going to have a better year than Nathan Rourke.
To be honest, when you say whoever asked it, that's Kevin, the medium, our sales guy. You met him at Grey Cup when you were he works for us,
Oh,
as
yeah.
you know, in Vancouver last year. He's a Lions fan living in Calgary. That will explain a lot for him. Yeah. So, Carlos in Indianapolis says, "What do you love the most about the league?" That just popped up in hour one. It came into my head, and I want some time to think about it because it's a long list. Sorry to catch you off guard, but what would be number one for you at the top of the list? Why you love the CFL?
The CFL, and I refer to it as the Division III of professional sports, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way at all. I coach Division III sports. It's the family atmosphere. It's the caring. You use the word intimacy. That's what I love about the CFL. I mean, it's just players truly appreciate that they get to step on the field. Go to a Grey Cup game and then go to a Super Bowl game, and you're going to see the difference between the NFL and the CFL, and why I love the CFL so much more. The fans, everything about the CFL, I love much more than I do with the NFL because of it's just the closeness. And like I said, I liked your word intimacy. I think it's that type of league. Players, coaches, people care about each other, and I've never seen a player turn away from a fan.
No.
Again, it just doesn't happen in this league, and that is what makes it special.
The Bomb writes in, he says, "I'm shocked Naylor's picking Ottawa because the East is loaded up." Who the hell? Oh, AJ Jakovic, who the voice of the Red Blacks, said, not since 69 and 70 have the Eastern teams had more wins than the West, but it's happened the last 2 years. Is the East the stronger division now?
Again, I think that's a reach to say they're stronger. I do like some of the teams. I think Ottawa's improved themselves. I don't. Again, how bad is Toronto going to be? How bad is that defense going to be? Those questions are it's early to answer. I think Hamilton's going to be much improved. Ottawa's going to be much improved, and Montreal is a huge question mark because of the quarterback situation. So, is it? I wouldn't say they're dominant. They may be better. They may end up with more wins. Again, tune in, watch Calgary and Hamilton, two teams that did not make the playoffs. Top game, week one. That game is going to tell you a lot about the West and the East, because both, again, whoever wins that game, that's who I say is going to got the better division. If Hamilton wins, the East, and if Calgary wins, I'll say the West. How's that?
I got you. That's all good. Well, we have a lot of Argos fans that watch this show. They tell me that. So when you said your fear was the D-line for the Argos, I thought you were going to say the fear was Chad Kelly's recovery. What? I don't know as much. Is he starting next week? What's his deal?
No, there's not a chance he'll start next week. I think he's out at least 3 games. I think,
wow.
What did I call 3 weeks ago? I said he'd be on the 6th game. I think they'll put him on the 6th game, but if he's ready to go after 3 weeks, he'll come off. I believe as soon as he's healthy and ready, he'll come off. But, there's going to be questions. Anytime a quarterback, I can't remember the last time a quarterback broke his ankle the way that Chad did. And I know when a returner blows his knee out or gets an Achilles, a lot of times they don't come back the same. And it's going to be interesting to see how Chad does coming off of that type of an injury. And is he going to be the same guy? Again, I think the Argos need him badly. I thought Nick Arbuckle played pretty well in Hamilton, but couldn't get him in the end zone. And I think he'll be, they'll be a frustrating team to watch until Chad gets back. I'm predicting he's going to start on the 6th game, and if he's not back week 4, he'll miss 6 games, and then he'll be back week 7. But we'll see what happens. He wasn't at the game the other night. He's still not practicing. So just to say he's going to be ready to play week 1 is a true stretch.
Yeah, I tell you, we have a lot of Argos fans, but we also have a lot of Ticats fans. And Jeff the Stamps fan says Bo is 18 yards away from passing Tom Clements for 12th all-time leading passing. To be honest, the Ticats 7-11 last year, last place. Do you see a big improvement this year? They're in a tough division. Yeah?
Big
Why?
improvement. I think offensively they've improved themselves. Getting Kenny Lawler adds a lot. Tim White becomes a completely different kind of, like I said at the beginning, he and Bo have to get on the same page, but he becomes much more of a factor because of Kenny Lawler. Kenny Lawler is going to draw a lot of people to him. So then you have Shamar Bridges that to me looks he's improved incredibly. So you have 3 great American receivers. I think 3 of the American receivers is as good as anybody or better than anybody in the league. I would say maybe Ottawa's receiving core is better because they're, I love, now Mardner's out, so that may not even be the case. So again, I think Hamilton, and defensively they were so bad. They got off to an 0-4 start or 0-5, and I talked to Scott about that before the game, and I said, how important is it for you to get this out? He goes, well, I'll play Bo Levi as much as I have to play him so that we're ready to roll week 1, because he says we're not going to fall in a hole like that again. So he knows how important it is for them to get started. I think they're better everywhere. I think Ted Gavaya's done a nice job of putting that team together. I think Scott has a understanding of what he wants. I think Brent Monson brings a new enthusiasm to that defense. It's going to be a fun team to watch, and I like their team a lot. I mean they won 24-16, but it wasn't that close. It could have been easily a lot more than that. So again, for the Argos, they need to come out and play better than they did last week, because I thought they were physically dominated by Hamilton. And Hamilton, that's one of the things Scott Milanovich wanted, was that physical nature. I mean, you don't run for 180 yards in a preseason game in the CFL. I don't know that I've ever seen it. A team run for that many yards, and they did. They were just ripping 10, 15-yard runs off right and left.
Isn't that quite interesting? Because we've often thought, especially preseason game 1, or I've always felt it's nothing more than a practice in uniform with the lights on, but that sounded like a game, what you're talking about there in Hamilton. And maybe the same thing will happen in Guelph tonight when those 2 teams meet. And here for Winnipeg Sask, our director of scouting, Craig Smith, is watching. He says Ted's an excellent personnel guy. Yes, he is, and we're all pulling for him in Hamilton. We're inside 30 seconds, Jim, so I'm just going to say good luck on the preview show and all that you got going. Enjoy the games tonight, and we'll do this again next week.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
And he gone. CFL on TSN's Jim Barker. We'll be back with me and you the rest of the way after this.